as we finish our 2025 podcast season, we want to pause and express our deepest gratitude to each of you who has joined us on this journey. To our global community of healers, light leaders, and conscious trailblazers, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for doing the inner work, and for choosing to embody both healthy feminine and masculine energies as pathways to your own healing and the healing of our world. This year, you have trusted your inner voice. You have stepped into your sovereign self. You have chosen curiosity over judgment, consideration over division, and conscious choice over reactivity. That takes courage, and we see you. To our contributors who have shared your wisdom, your stories, and your truth, thank you for allowing all of us to elevate and celebrate with you. You're creating ripples that reach far beyond what you can see. As we move into the holiday season, wherever you are in the world and whatever you celebrate, we hope this season nourishes your mind, body, and soul. We hope you give yourself permission to rest, to reflect, and to honor how far you have come. We will be back in 2026, ready to continue this global movement together with you. And until then, remember, you are sovereign. You always have been. With love and gratitude, the Sovereign Magazine family. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine, podcast, and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Hello. Today I have the privilege of reconnecting with Chris Melville, who is Sovereign's personal empowerment coach, alongside her transformative coaching sessions and workshops for the Sovereign community. Chris runs a thriving coaching practice and is a certified rapid transformational therapy practitioner with over 30 years of corporate experience. She is passionate about empowering women to overcome mindset challenges and build thriving businesses. As a true expert in personal empowerment, Chris helps others step boldly into their power. Welcome back, Chris.
Hello, Nicole.
All right. Today we are talking about the meaning of your life, which is our theme for our December new moon issue. And in your article, what if the meaning of life is the legacy you're already creating? You reflect about how your natural gift for holding space for others, like listening and comforting them, carrying their truths around with you, felt extremely ordinary to you until your own life unraveled. So, why don't you share a little bit about what happened and when you really learned that your legacy is something different?
Right. So, first of all, no big topic here. What is the meaning of life? Thanks for setting us that one, Nicole. Yeah, I think really my whole healing journey started when my marriage fell apart. Well, actually, when it had been unraveling for a while, but when it all kind of blew up, and I had to confront a lot of things. Obviously, marriages very rarely blow up just based on one person. So it's like, what have I done in this marriage? What have I done that's brought us to this? Where could I have been stronger? And that meant going back and looking at patterns and looking at like all the guys that had been in my life before and looking for the common themes, which I did find, and confronting that and understanding that, that's not what I wanted in my life. And so I had to find a way of changing that. Yeah, that's kind of when my life fell apart.
Yeah. And so, how did you make this connection between that unraveling, or as you mentioned, editing instead of unraveling? How did you make that connection to the fact that you had this gift that was not quite ordinary that you just assumed was?
Because I was able to do that work myself. I was able to kind of like take it back, and I was able to find these connections and see the bigger picture. I'm really good at being able to remove the emotion and look at things from just a curiosity perspective. I majored in animal science at university, but I minored in psychology. I've always been interested in psychology, but I think I have, I wouldn't say I'm the most creative person in the world, because I'm more of a scientific kind of mindset, which is perfect for this. For me, it's like following clues. Okay, well, if this is what's happened, then let's take a look at, let's go back a step, and then let's go back another step, and oh, let's go over to this step. And it's like a giant ball of yarn to unravel. And I love it. It fascinates me. Human behavior fascinates me. And I know the difference that doing this kind of work can make in people's lives, because it made the massive difference in my life.
Yeah. So there are obviously some people out there who chase fame and chase going viral and doing. I am not one of those people at all. I absolutely do not want to go viral at all. Like, it is
No spotlight.
no spotlight at all. Yeah, it took me a long time to even become the podcast host, because I just don't prefer to be in the spotlight, until our audience was like, no, we'd rather have Nicole. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I guess I'm going to be leaping into this. But for those who, you know, are looking at their legacy in their life, what are some things that women can do to kind of look at their life in a way that brings meaning to them and helps them truly root in what they desire, versus kind of this mirage of life, right? Like, so often, I'll just use my daughter as an example. She's 13. She's just like, "Mom, you're famous." And I'm like, "Honey, no, I'm not, babe. Like, I'm not there." But she thinks because I own a magazine, I'm famous. And so to her, that's fame. And she's like, "I get so much street cred for it, this, that, and the other," right? So that's really big for her. And for me, it's like, not. So, but that's her age. But for a woman who is trying to find out what her legacy is going to be, or the meaning of her life, how can she start to unravel, or as you mentioned, edit and reframe the healing that potentially needs to be done to find that true rooted meaning and purpose as to why she's here in life?
Yeah. So first things I would say, always start with your values. Go back and revisit your values. A lot of us never think about our values. The reality is our values were set for most of us when we were coming up to or in our late teens, set by parents, friends. It grows then. It gets, we have society, we have partners, we have employers that all have an influence on them. And we think we know what our values are, but our lives change and things that were important to us are no longer important. So check in on your values is my first thing. A big step I took was sitting down and thinking about things I regretted. And I don't have many regrets, but I did regret never going further with the psychology. I really did, because it's been a lifelong interest for me. Now, 24-year-old me wouldn't have noticed that. But with the hindsight of another 30 years, when I was going through this, it's like, yeah, I do regret that I didn't go further with that. That shows what you're really passionate about. Yeah. Look at the causes that you support. Look at the things in the world that are really upsetting you. We're here to make a difference. Yeah. We're all put on this world to make a difference, whatever that difference could be. And it could be a difference at a global level. It could be a difference at a national level. It could be local, but it could just be your family. For some of us, maybe stopping the stories that we carry, making sure they end with us and we don't pass them down to our kids. That is leaving a legacy. And then for me, it was kind of like looking at the skills that I thought I had. And one of the things I noticed, and I talked about it in this article, was total strangers would tell me about having an affair with their boss and they wanted to leave their job, but they didn't know what to do, or how much they hated their mother-in-law. And she was ill and the husband wanted the mother-in-law to move in with them and for her to look after, and she couldn't do it. It wasn't just my friends that came to me looking for advice. It's just, and I think we have to accept that there's a type of energy that we all radiate. Why wouldn't we use that energy to build our legacy? It's one of our biggest strengths.
It is time to rise. We are being called to stand behind independent voices, movements, and media that refuse to be owned. Sovereign Magazine has never spoken to an advertiser, a corporation, or a billionaire. We are a grassroots movement made for women and funded by women. If you are ready to rise, to shatter ceilings, and to stand in your truth, do it with us. It's free. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and share our content. Every click helps us reach more women around the globe who are ready to remember who they are. Are you coming with us? Okay, let's go into steps to our sovereign self. So I wanted to share with you in this part, we're kind of going to do this a little backwards today because Chris and I
Ooh.
we actually kind of forgot to talk about what we were going to talk about in steps to our sovereign self. So I'm going to talk
We
about it.
did.
We did. You know what?
We're on a deadline.
It's okay. We're just doing things different today, and that's okay. We talk about how we're just authentic. So anyway, I believe if I remember correctly, because I believe we have designed this magazine, we always produce everything way far in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, in our editor's reflection for this issue, I hope it's this issue. If not, it's a different one. I remember writing for my I know, right? I'm going to sound so silly if it's not true. But I did write it for one of my editor's reflections because I do truly write them. I talked about what changed my life was when a mentor of mine asked me, if you were sitting on a porch in a rocking chair at age 90 and you looked back at your life, what would you say? And that was it for me. That's all I needed was to say, oh my gosh, I do not want to live in this job for the rest of my life. And that was enough for me to say, I want my legacy to be so much family time. So now time is my currency. And so what I want to do, the reverse thing is if you were that 90-year-old woman, Chris, what would you say to her?
You know what? In our last podcast, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. We talked about change and how sometimes change is forced upon you. Well, this change with my marriage was forced upon me. And it was what I needed. I didn't want to accept the change enough to drive the change, but it's what I needed. And so your currency is time, mine is freedom. Yeah. Freedom to find myself again. Freedom to, I was with my ex since the age of 24. And we split up really around 54. So 30 years, I was with him pretty much my whole adult life. And it wasn't just finding myself again. It was finding who I am now. That's not just wife, mother, employee. Yeah. One of my favorite party tricks or party games, I guess, when I'm speaking to people is to ask them who they are, because most people talk in that language: wife, mother, daughter, doctor, teacher, lawyer. It's not who you are. Those are roles that you embody. If somebody says to me, "Oh, I'm a wife. I've got 6 kids who I love madly. I'm a teacher." It's like, okay, well, I think who you are probably is a nurturer, carer, somebody who enjoys shaping young lives, So that is who we are. The disconnect comes when, like me, I'm a bit of a nurturer, I'm a bit of a guide for people, but I ended up in roles where I was, refurbishing offices or doing PR on TV sets or just office management roles. that wasn't me. So I had to kind of dig down and find out who that was. And I had the freedom to do that without anybody just going, you're not meeting my needs. You're not doing what I need you to. You're not being who I want you to. So freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to use that freedom.
And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that in the process of your divorce, you were giving yourself permission to embody that freedom in ways, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I remember when you first moved out and it was quiet and there was nobody around and all of those things, right? And
Yeah.
so I want people to understand, even though time is my currency, that wasn't easy because I was so used to being so busy, working 50, 60 hours a week, plus being on call 24/7, right? So time, I had no time. And so when we are choosing our legacy and that word, which helps to, the word that is our currency, because everybody's currency is going to be different. It might be money, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. Um, but it's going to feel different and awkward at first. And so I think that for the women listening today and who are wanting to have more meaning to their life and defining what their legacy is, I think if they start to ask themselves these questions that we posed today about, if you were 90 and sitting on a porch and looking back, what would you want out of life, or what would you have regretted, is what we talked about. But also, what is your currency? What is your
Yeah.
currency?
And also, I like the idea of this one. Who would I be without?
Mm.
So I remember like the first time I got made redundant, and I was really excited because the job, I hadn't been enjoying the job for a long time. They were shutting down the office. So eventually everybody was going. They were all gone within a month or two after I went. And I just remember having lunch with a friend, and these were the days of the Blackberries, and I just remember kind of like picking up my phone. They're like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm really excited to find out who I am without this, and like waving my Blackberry around, because I worked across so many different time zones. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be on the phone at 6 o'clock in the morning dealing with emails from Australasia. And then I'd put my kids to bed at night and I'd be back in my office at like 7, 8 o'clock at night working with LA. So it was like it was stapled to my hand. Who am I going to be without this thing that has tethered me for so long?
Taking the mask off.
Who are you going to be without something that is holding you, that's binding you to a place, a person, a time, a belief about yourself?
This is so rich, so rich. Okay. Well, Chris always has good advice. She will be back next month for our full moon and
I will
new
indeed.
moon. Yes. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, my love.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This is the last episode for this issue. I'll be back again on the full moon with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help guide you to your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.